afternoon, good evening, good day, and good morning, Blurtsters, wherever you are around the world. You are listening to the Blurt.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Turrbal people of Yuggera land, as well as the Woiwurrung people of the Wurrungjiji land. We recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place, and acknowledge that they never ceded sovereignty. We respect all Turrbal and Woiwurrung elders and ancestors, and any First Nations people here today.
Good evening and happy birthday to the new Blurt, episode 100, believe it or not. It's hard to believe. It started in 2020. It was just me. Then Wency came along, made it better, and we've got to 100. And we've got to over 4,000 downloads now. So thank you, the listener. That is absolutely fantastic. And we hope you enjoyed tonight's show. We're very lucky to be bringing you Dan Ilic live. Sorry, Ilic. I need to get that correct. Dan Ilic live. And, so he'll be on about 8:15-ish. And Wency, the co-host, will be on very soon. But before I go any further, I'd just like to say that Kexter, host of the New Blurt, if you've never listened to the New Blurt before, tonight I'm coming to you from Wurundjeri country, the Kulin nation of the Woiwurrung people. Sovereignty was never ceded, always has been, and always will be Aboriginal land. On tonight's show, as I said, we are very lucky. We are doing a Do Yourself a Favour segment, and we will be having a chat with Dan Ilic and seeing what he's been doing over the last little while. And after that, we'll do What's on the Box. What has Wency been looking at and interesting? And what have I been looking at? And I'm sort of going into the ABC realm, as it were. There's some really good stuff coming up on the ABC. It's either ABC or SBS. So in our family, or, Netflix or something like that. But anyway, on-demand stuff. But no further ado, as I do every week, for anyone that's ever tuned in to the pod or tuned in live, there is something I must do. It's warranted. And it's something I enjoy doing, which is this. Good evening, Wency! Extra applause for the 100th episode.
Definitely. So deserved. We've reached the big milestone, 100. I can't believe it.
It is. Do you know what? I did some research a little while ago. I think you know Rachel Corbett.
Oh, yes,
yes. She's been on the project and she does a podcast school and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I was just listening to one of her podcast teaching podcasts a little while ago. And yes, believe it or not, we do try to get better on this show. And
emphasis on the try.
That's exactly right. And she was saying that out of the millions of podcasts there are, which I think is something like, 2 million or something, quite a few, there's only like about 10% that get to 100 episodes.
Wow.
So
nice to be part of that club then.
Well, I know. So I was really surprised. I was very, very surprised indeed. So we are part of that club now. Yeah. And I suppose it's onwards and upwards.
It is.
And I suppose...
I didn't know that stat. I was aware of that stat, that not many podcasts reach 100. I wasn't sure about the numbers or the figures, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is a good stat. And actually, just talking about that stat, thank you very much, Vicky. Thank you very, very much. Vicky, if you're following this on the pod, one of our very learned listeners, viewers, Vicky, has wished us happy 100th episode. So thank you very much for that. Now, what I wanted to say was also, while we're going on that, I might as well do this straight off the top, because this is another happy 100th from our good friend, Dr. Maria Taflaga.
Happy birthday, the New Blurt, on your 100th episode.
Oh, it's buffering.
And may you have another 100 excellent episodes to come. And I look forward to the relaunch of the podcast as the new Blurt, perhaps in 500 episodes time, and perhaps the new Blurt sometime in the next decade. Anyway, once again, happy birthday. Bye.
Thank you very much,
gave me-
Maria.
Yes, that gave me a bit of a chuckle when I first heard that the other day.
It was pretty good. We've actually got another one as well, but I don't know if I could pull it up fast enough. It's our old friend who hasn't been on the show for a while because he's just gone and got himself famous. So he's all over the place at the moment. Ash Fiesermain.
Oh, yes.
And he wished us a good happy 100th as well. From his, I was going to say cell, but not his cell. His
From his cell. What is he famous in prison now? Is he? Is he doing gigs in incarceration?
No, but he is doing a comedy cruise. So
pretty much jail. Can't escape.
Well, you can't. You can't. I mean, I suppose obviously he's fighting hecklers and COVID. So, you can't get away from that sort of stuff. It's amazing what you get those cruises apart from, laughs, as it were. But, so that's been really cool. And I'd like to take this opportunity as well to just thank all the guests we've had on over those 100 episodes. And that's Mark Kelly, who's been on a few times and talked about the Teal independence. And he was spot on, exactly as he said. I think, 7 or 8 he was saying would get in. And there's so many people not even anywhere near around that mark when that in the media, etc. And he was, I think he was sort of just chuckling to himself,
Yeah, you got that one right. That's for sure.
He absolutely did. And obviously, we thank Dr. Maria de Flaga and Dr. David Smith over that time from the PEP podcast as well. He lent his gravitas to our Party in the USA segment. And talking about that, in the newer term in November, in later part of November, we should have, I think it's Dr. Brendan O'Connor from the Australian National University, I think it is. Oh, it's Australia. It's Sydney University. I'll get that right. Obviously, wait before it comes on the show. But he's a fantastic political scientist in the US politics area as well. So that will be a great get for us as well. Is there any guests you'd like to thank as well that you remember?
We've had other ones recently. For example, Mark Pacini from Dancing with the Black Dog, who we had a couple of weeks ago. We've had Hannah Melville Ray from the Oz Institute last year, I think it was, or early this year. Hannah McCleary, uni student, and then who then went to Uni of Tasmania, I think it was, from memory. We interviewed or had a chat with her early this year or last year. No, that was early this year.
Yeah, she was a CSIRO scientist, wasn't she?
Correct.
Yeah, fantastic. Right. She was amazing.
Yeah. So we've had quite a number of guests on our show, which we highly appreciate, and we've enjoyed every one of them on the show.
Absolutely. And we had this guy as well.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Wednesday in the Kickstar. How's it going?
Happy 50th!
So that was 50 episodes ago, and so
half a lifetime ago.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. So very lucky to get him back for our 100th as well. And saying that, we've sort of got him on the line, so we'll bring him in a minute. But we've got a couple of things we need to do. One, I've got a little spiel I'll just run down before we do. A very short one, because Dan's got so much going on. It's just too hard to talk about it all. And then I'll play the sting and away we go. So in 2007, he started the Sydney Sketch Comedy Club Night Comicide. In 2008, toured the Best of the Show. Comicide, Death by Funny to the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. And also, I saw him live, I think it was last year at the Comedy Festival, doing his Irrational Fear podcast live. And that was absolutely fantastic. Had Grace Tame as guests and Lewis Hobber. Really, really good stuff. Dan started on A Hungry Beast years ago as well, which was a Andrew Denton vehicle, I believe, at the time. And he's just gone on and on. And he was the producer of, the musical. I'm sure Dan will tell me what the musical is when he comes on. But the thing I did want to say is It's Not a Race is it's a content engine sort of website that Dan put together before the election, and he was trying to raise a lot of money for it to make sure that the fossil fuel fools, as they were, didn't get in. So this was straight from some of the content on that, which is the election could be our last opportunity to get the fossil fuels out of federal parliament and put some adults in charge. If you're part of the 75% of Australians who think Australia should be doing more on climate action, please chip in to Not a Race. And I was definitely one of those and very happy to do so. So on our Do Yourself a Favour, if you don't know what Do Yourself a Favour, it's the best podcast that Wency and I review very often. Irrational Fear has always been one of those. And here it is. You're listening to The New Blurt with Wency and the Kegstar. Next up, do yourself a favour. And good evening, Dan.
Hey,
Hello.
Congratulations on your 100th episode.
Yay! Thanks.
You know what? It took me 9 years to get to 100 episodes, and it took you blokes, 3 seconds? That was really good. Really, really well done. You're outpacing me and Irrational Fear, that's for sure. Well done.
We're coming after you, Dan.
Yeah.
Because you've won the best podcast of the last couple of years.
I've got the trophy somewhere around here. Here we go. I got them there. They are right there.
Always have them handy.
Together.
Nice.
Got two puppies right there.
Did you have to pay Sizzletown to not enter, or?
Well, the first year we entered, we lost to Sizzletown, and Lewis and I looked at each other and we were like, "Yeah, fair enough." And the first year we beat them, 2020, Lewis and I were like, "How did Sizzletown not beat us?" And then when we won again last year, 2021, we were like, "Oh, maybe we are the best comedy podcast in Australia." Who knows? It's pretty good.
No, you've definitely got some good stuff there for sure. And I think your other one is it Gum? Is it Gum?
Gumpoo, yes, the greatest moral podcast of our generation, so-called named after the great Kevin Rudd line, the greatest moral problem of our generation, when he was talking about climate change. Gumpoo is the podcast where we talk to people in climate, good and bad, and have a one-on-one conversation with them. So let's see, that's monthly on the Irrational Fear feed. And our last Gumpoo is really good. I had to spend a bit of money to kind of get it done because I was in another city, and the organization offering me the talent was the United States of America, and that person was only in Sydney, and I didn't want to do it over Zoom because, as you know, Zoom kind of conversations can sometimes be a bit hokey. So I was like, right, I booked a flight to Sydney. I had to book a studio because you can't invite America to your house. And the entourage was just extraordinary. And if you can see this vision of this room I am in now, my house is about twice as big as this space. So it's like 2 cupboard sizes. And you can't fit America in 2 cupboards. It's
you
very
need a bigger rumpus room for that.
Exactly. So I booked the ABC studios and paid them good money, paid some of my taxpayers' money to use their taxpayer-funded studios to record a government official talking about climate change. So anyway, it was really a great conversation. It was really an honour to talk to Richard Duke, who is the deputy climate envoy for the United States of America. He's basically John Kerry's next in line for John Kerry's job. Really pretty.
That was a huge get.
Huge get. It was very nice of the consulate to offer them to me. So I was very excited to speak with America. Yeah.
Did they take any of your ideas on board, billboards wise?
Well, it's interesting what you can do with a few billboards. I didn't, pitch America any kind of billboard kind of concepts, but it's last year, it's coming up to the year anniversary of that whole thing with COP26. Of course, we've got COP coming up again in Egypt, but for listeners to your podcast last year, with the help of Irrational Fear listeners, we ran this great campaign to raise $12,000 to put a few billboards in Glasgow for COP26 for the climate talks. And then we raised that money in 2 hours, and the money just kept rolling in because people were so annoyed with the government's action on climate. And so we ended up raising like $190,000, and we put not only billboards in Glasgow, billboards in the suburbs of Glasgow, billboards in New York's Times Square, and the biggest billboard in the world, billboards all around Australia, billboards around Cook, the electorate of Prime Minister Morrison at the time, and billboards in other prominent areas around Australia, so we could really hammer home the message of climate action. And of course, a lot of these billboards don't make sense when you're just like walking past them, but they're really great for social media and they really catch fire, and it's a really part of a great story. So, it was absolutely the biggest moment I've kind of ever been part of.
It was a massive year actually for you in 2021 and 2022, obviously, and probably 2020 as well. I suppose the whole lot, really, in so many different ways. But what I did want to ask you about was It's Not a Race. Sort of when did you sort of come up with that? It was a fantastic innovation.
I have the deck somewhere. Where's the deck here? I initially called it Joke Keeper. It was called Dark Funny. And the idea was to create instead of dark money, I would create dark funny. I would create like this shadow organization that would create relentless trolling against the coalition. And I came up with it when the Billboard stuff went wild. I was like, well, the Billboard stuff is indicative of the people's appetite for this kind of thing, and maybe after the Billboards, I can find the resources and team to do this at scale in a way that might be a bit more interesting to make change in our electorate. So it was interesting. I kind of put together this pitch and found some resources and the connected up with the right people to create this instrument to kind of mock the coalition, and had a big crowdfunding component a part of that. So it was amazing. We raised like $100,000 from thousands of Australians who wanted to see change, and it was so great to be entrusted with their money to make comedy content against the coalition and against people who weren't focused on climate action. So that was really thrilling to kind of see that happen. And any places where we ran ads, like you mentioned, just before when you're talking about Mark Kelly, any places where we ran our content and paid for like Facebook ads to push that content in those electorates, the people we were behind won. So, it was like, woo, like not that It's Not a Race changed the government, but it certainly felt like it was, we could put our thumb on the scale. It was great.
Yeah,
well, we say that, Dan, but I remember when ScoMo was Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, ex-Prime Minister, wasn't going to COP, I believe, and then you did a whole bunch of billboards or something, and then all of a sudden he was, but you weren't allowed to take. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well, no, absolutely. Like at 9 o'clock on the morning our billboards went up, he wasn't going to go to Glasgow. Then at 2 o'clock he held a press conference, which is long after the time you usually hold press conferences if you're the Prime Minister. He just put out a press conference saying, oh yes, he was going to go to COP, and he decided last night. Nothing that happened in between last night and 2 o'clock made him go to Glasgow. Yeah, it was really awesome. Like that was an absolutely thrilling moment where I was like, holy shit, like Rational Fear and our listeners and people who care deeply about Australia, we changed the Prime Minister. We moved him to go to Glasgow. That was definitely, I'll take credit for that.
It just shows that people power can make a difference, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's like harnessing. Well, this is a question, right? Like I kind of always think about how powerful. Like, the question is like, how powerful am I? Like, how can I use my power for good? What do I need to do to harness all the power I have? Here are the steps. Here's how I can use my set of skills. I have this great community. I can make a great video. I can put together a crowdfunder. I can do this. Let's do it. I can book an ad. Sure, why not? Let's. Like these are all the skills I have as an individual, and like this is how I feel like I can best harness my power at this important time that we're faced with, and we've still got. It's still an important time. And we need to hold Labor to account and really hold their feet to the fire when it comes to climate action too. But
they're not making much of a change, are they?
No, they do. I mean, they're doing some very basic first steps. There was stuff that we should have been done 15 years ago.
Mm.
The reporting mechanism and the very low targets, which are even lesser targets than the states have. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about with their thing, but it's just nice to know there is alignment of some sorts anyway. But what you've got is what you still got is a government that is beholden to fossil fuels. You still have a government that's beholden to the gas lobby. So we need to kind of figure out ways how to circumvent that, and I could have to bide my time to wait for the right moments to do that. I think.
Another crowdfunder, another crowdfunding.
I can smell a crowdfunder in 2 years' time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, just following on with that, Dan, the 43%, I mean, from the policies that are going forward at the moment and from obviously your research, etc., are they going to at least meet that? Although I know that it should be, say, 70% plus for us to get to, I think, 1.5 degrees, etc.
I think they'll meet and beat it in a canter. No, it'll be... Yeah, I think they'll meet it. And I think you'll see penalties from the state implemented if companies don't meet it. And the big thing is the financial penalties for the reporting mechanism and the ratcheting up of those goals. It just needs to be more. It just needs to be more and faster. So they will meet 43%, but it needs to be faster. It just depends when they'll meet it. I think, I don't know if it just feels like 2030 is not that far away, and everything needs to go a lot faster.
It's only 2 cycles away.
When you look at emissions, the biggest thing that I've been focusing on in the work that I've been doing is largely around energy systems, and energy emissions have dropped. And that's, due to solar and wind and renewables coming online. And, it's great. It's really heartening to see AGL close their plant slightly earlier than they had planned to. And where the sectors now that are real troublesome are agriculture and transport, and households. So agriculture, transport, and the grid are the kind of like the next big thing, the next big battle lines for carbon emissions. So that's why you're kind of seeing now big EV pushes from certain sectors, and agriculture in Australia will be the hard one because we are such a big country. So that'll be extremely difficult. But there are little solutions that are kind of floating around, but they need to be scaled up.
Yeah,
do they need government support, or is it that they're not willing to change their practices?
Well, like land clearing is the big one. Land clearing is still happening, like huge amounts of it, particularly in Queensland and Victoria. So that needs to stop. Land clearing just needs to stop. And then emissions from livestock is the next one. Huge amounts of emissions from livestock. So there's a few things that are kind of operating at small scale, like seaweed and cows feed and stuff like that, to neutralize methane emissions. But there's a lot more work around that needs to be done. And even though here's the thing, like carbon capture storage is so divisive, right? All this effort and money goes into paying billions of dollars to get carbon capture storage over the line, and it never works. But it's on one hand for me looking at that going, see, another failed carbon capture storage program. Why are you putting money into this? Why are you giving Woodside money or Chevron money to run these failed projects? But the reality is we're gonna need it to work. So it's gonna get to the point where someone's got to crack that technology, so it can actually work. But it hasn't worked yet with the billions of dollars poured into it. It hasn't worked at scale. There's no successful implementation of that worldwide. So there's like the small kind of things that work, like Chevron use it in Gorgon to actually carbon. They use it for carbon capture use, which is they take the carbon, they capture it, and then they use it to frack more carbon. so they actually use it to frack the rock to get at more gas that they can export, and hence the cycle repeats. So it's actually not. It's actually the carbon still gets released. Like it's kind of an evil cycle for them. So
the beautiful thing about that too, Dan, is they get carbon credits for it.
Yeah, woo! They're so environmentally friendly. Good on them.
Very inventive. The government that allows it, though.
Well, look, Chevron. At least they pay their tax. I'm sure they do. I haven't checked it up. I'm sure they pay their tax.
You heard it first. Yep, they pay their tax.
Money, they must pay their tax. I mean,
yeah,
probably really good.
0.001%.
They're probably really, really good corporate citizens.
Look, the big question really is, Dan, are you going to be replacing Sean McAuliffe soon in that time slot with one of your own shows? Because surely it's time for Dan to get out there and try to stuff.
Oh, that's very kind of you to say, but unfortunately, ABC only hires people who have done breakfast radio for 20 years on Radio National, and they are too scared of anyone that looks under 50 to be on air as a main host of their show. So it's probably unlikely. I don't think. Yeah, and quite frankly, I'm another white male, so like it actually won't. If the ABC were honest with themselves, they would give Nina Oyama the job, or they'd give somebody else, Flex Marmy, the job of hosting Irrational Fear on the ABC.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense.
I want to go back in time a little bit, back when you were a little bit younger. You were 18. You went to Trot Fest in Sydney. For those who aren't familiar with Trot Fest, that used to be a festival of short films in Australia. And I think it was the top 16 would turn up or would be finalists, and they'd show that on a particular night in Sydney.
Is that not on anymore?
No. So it's had a rocky history, and the last one was 2019 pre-COVID, and there's rumours it might come back next year. But back when you were 18 or so, I won't say what year so people don't have to guess how old you are. You mentioned that you said that you scored a VIP lanyard from someone, and it let you go into all the VIP areas. And your quote was, "I can tell you being inside a VIP area legitimately is a whole lot less fun than being inside a VIP area illegitimately." You really feel like once you've crashed a VIP area that you've won something. You've won the prize of being amongst people who are richer and better looking than you. It's a great prize for a kid from the suburbs who never thought he'd ever work in show business legitimately. My first question is, who is the celebrity? And my second question is, can you believe that you're now one of those VIPs who is legitimately inspiring other creators and thinkers?
The second point, that's really nice. I enjoy that experience a lot, and I try to go out of my way to find new voices and find ways to help them get a leg up in the industry and look after folks, not only through Irrational Fear, but if there's somebody who I think is an uber talent, I try to tap them on the shoulder and see what they want to do and try to open up the right doors for them so they can make it a little bit easier to kind of forge a way through the industry, because there's no rules in this game, right? So you kind of just have to, look after other people. And if you see someone great and you see an opportunity, I like the idea of being able to connect those two things together and go, wow, like, you're about to pop. This person needs to know who you are so you can work together. So I kind of try and forge those things. And with Irrational Fear, I really try to make space for new voices who I might just see on Twitter or on social media or at an open mic and go, wow, you should come on our show and take it seriously and absolutely destroy and find your voice. So I've had a couple of really good investments, I guess, emotional investments
Yeah.
in people's careers through Irrational Fear, like Jazz Twemlow went on to create the Moth series on Amazon, and the Moth Effect, and Mark Humphries did his first live spot at Irrational Fear, and Nina Oyama did her first live spot on Irrational Fear next to Will Anderson on stage, and she just absolutely destroyed. Alice Fraser got into satire because of Irrational Fear, and
is that right? Alice Fraser. Wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a huge one.
and then Gabby Bolt as well. Really kind of looked up to her to get her gigs in Sydney and management and producer and all that stuff. And she's like just absolutely taken the world by storm, which is so exciting for me to see. And so it's that kind of keeping an eye open for talent. And there's a couple of other younger people who I'm kind of keeping eyes on at the moment, developing projects with. That I won't talk about until they're really successful.
And then
that's fine.
Yeah, that was me.
No
that was me.
Yeah, and then for Tropfest, I remember it was the TSI was a bug. The Tropfest signature item, the TSI, it was a bug, and I remember like a red bug lanyard around someone's neck, and I waited for someone from the VIP tent to come out. And then I said, "Oh, can I take your lanyard?" And they said, "Yeah, go for it."
Nice.
And then I wore the lanyard and walked back into the tent, and it was great. And then so like the people who I saw there from like when I was 18, I saw Mikey Robbins and Paul McDermott, and that was the coolest thing in the world. And and I saw Richard Wilkins, which was also cool. But like to see Mikey Robbins and Paul McDermott, people who were hosting Day at the time, it was so fun. And, cut to this year, like I got to work with Paul McDermott a bit with Irrational Fear, and he's kind of been on and done our live shows and did our Opera House show. And, that was, it's so genuinely heartening to kind of hang out with your heroes, 15, 20 years later, and be friends with them. That's a real joy. That's really fun. And it is fun. It is much more fun being in a celebrity space illegitimately. Because you're not meant to be
satisfaction there, isn't it?
It's a bit dangerous. Like I've been a finalist on Tropfest, and sure, it was nice having our film play, and it was nice saying how everyone came up and said, "Oh, yours should have won." And like that's really nice, but it's much better to be at a celebrity party when you're not meant to be there. And I've spent a lot of my time, particularly in America, crashing celebrity parties. I've crashed many good ones. Yeah,
a bit like the Chaser Boys.
Well, never with the intent to film it, just to go in there and have a few free drinks and hang out with John Hamm or Bill Murray or Aretha Franklin or like whoever is at this celebrity party, just to go and have a good time and hang out with crazy people. Like try and squeeze past Megan Fox as you get up, as you got to go to the toilet. It's really fun. Like so. It was really fun. One time at Toronto, me and my friend Swano and my friend Brad, we would crash parties at the Toronto Film Festival. We were really expert at it. And one of the biggest parties we crashed was the 127 hours party. And my friend Swano looked up. He's a very tall and handsome man, and he looked up on IMDb the name of a random producer for 127 hours. And he's like, I don't know, I'll just say David Burbank was his name. And he went to the door and said, "Hi, I'm David Burbank." And the lady at the door went, "Oh, hello, Mr. Burbank. So great to see you. Come right in." And these my friends, "No problem, Mr. Burbank." And we just like walked right in. And
wow.
Like hanging out with Ridley Scott. I remember drunkenly telling Ridley Scott, I said, "The reason you haven't won an Oscar since Gladiator is you haven't let Russell speak in his natural accent." And I was so drunk on free drinks that David Cross was there. And at that point, I was listening to David Cross's album that I downloaded on iTunes on an iPod. And I had my iPod in my pocket. And I was like, "David, I love the new album. It's great. I should get her to sign my iPod." In my mind, it made complete sense that I would get him to sign my iPod because I was listening to it on the iPod. But to him, he was like, "Okay," and walked away. Like it was just a great moments.
And have you still got the iPod?
Oh no, you didn't never sign it. Why would I keep it? And then at the Sundance Film Festival, my friend Brad got me into the party for The Whackness with Ben Kingsley, and Mary-Kate Ashley was in that film. And I, some years earlier, was a ski lodge attendant at the Stein Eriksen Ski Lodge in Park City, and I put on the boots of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. I looked after them as a ski locker room attendant. So some years later, I was at this party of The Whackness, and she was there, and Ben Kingsley was there, and Brad, my friend Brad, was the center of attention because he knew some of the financiers of some other films there. They're big New York.
Is that Brad Blank?
Brad Blanks, yeah. And Brad Blanks and this New York stockbroker was like, "Hey, Brad, you want to fly with us home to New York tomorrow on a private jet?" And Brad's like, "Nah. I got to interview Matthew Perry in the morning. Nah. Oh, I won't do it. Yeah. And we're charging through the snow, and I said to Brad, "Brad, did that guy just offer us a ride home?" He said, "Yeah, but we got to interview Perry in the morning." And I said, "Brad, do you want to interview Matthew Perry 10 years after Friends, or do you want to fly home from the Sundance Film Festival in a private jet?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, fuck, you're fucking right. And he called up the chief, David Alcano, and he said, "Chief," he's like, "you got 2 seats on your plane?" He's like, "Yeah, sure, Brad." And they're like, "Right, we'll see you in the morning, 7 a.m. All right, great. All right, see you then." So we hopped on this plane. Great jet. We on Chief's jet. Flew into New Jersey. Chief organized this limo back to Brad's house, which he was staying at the Hotel Pennsylvania at the time. It's a long story why he lived there. And we were like a day early in New York, and we were filming constantly for Brad's web series we were making for Fairfax. And we had a day up our sleeve. We were in New York City a day early. We hadn't planned to be there, so we decided to do a red carpet at the Good Day USA function in New York City. So we were like, let's uptown. We're midtown. And then Brad gets a call while I'm in the shower and putting on my suit, and all I could hear from outside was, "Oh no, fuck, you're fucking kidding me." And I come out of the shower, I'm like, "Brad, what's wrong?" He's like, "Dan, Heath Ledger's dead." I'm like,
"Oh shit!"
Oh wow!
Like, wow. So that phone call was from a guy who was fucking the chief of staff of the New York Post, Aussie bloke who was dating at the time. For like, she got the call, and later, like 7 o'clock at night, and then Brad got the call from him, and then we hopped in a cab and we went down to Greenwich Village to find Heath Ledger's house. And on the way down, I called Fairfax, who I was working for at the time. I said, "We might have something here. Stand by. This is the story." And we're like running around trying to find Heath Ledger's house, and saw like a news van roll around the corner. So I was knocking on Aussie bars, trying to find if they knew Heath Ledger's house. And I saw this news van roll around, so I chased after it, and it pulled right outside of Heath Ledger's house, and there were cops there. And we were filming on mini DV in those days. Like, there was no cell phones, or Twitter was new, and it wasn't really a thing. And Facebook was kind of new. It really wasn't a thing. So we filmed on mini DV, and I took the footage in my laptop and ran to Starbucks, which is 2 blocks away.
Internet cafe.
Downloaded the footage on my laptop, cut it up in Final Cut, and filed footage to Fairfax, and gave the camera to Brad. Brad got the cop on camera admitting that it was Heath Ledger's house, and Heath Ledger had passed away, and rushed over to Fairfax and gave me the tape, and we uploaded that. And then, the editor was on the phone saying, "Dan, there's rumors that Mary-Kate Olsen was in the apartment at the time because they were dating. Is that true?" And I was like, "I can confirm that is absolutely incorrect. I was with Mary-Kate the night before at a party for the Whackness in Park City. There's absolutely no way she could have beaten me." So Heath Ledger's house.
Wow.
And so then we went uptown and interviewed all these Aussies as part of G'day USA about Heath's death. And it was this really weird moment in kind of in media, and you kind of really only have these moments once in your life as a journalist, to be kind of part of the story right at the center, just to be in the right place at the wrong time, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, such a tragedy, and I imagine it would have been a pretty dark day there.
It was pretty dark, and we were just like running on adrenaline, and getting all the yarns together, and And then the weeks after, it was you could see Heath's house was like filled with flowers and things like that, and it was quite extraordinary scenes on the street.
Wow.
That's that is pretty amazing.
Fascinating, but sad at the same time because it was such a great talent.
Yeah, great talent. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, look, just going on to that, where to now for Irrational Fear? Are you trying to get it on a cruise, or what's the situation?
The Irrational Fear cruise. It's great. It's everyone gets a free case of Omicron. You'll have a great time. No cruise. We're back as of this week. We're back in the saddle. We've got 10-week season coming up. We're going to roll for 10 weeks straight.
Excellent.
Exciting. I think also we have a sponsor on board, which I'll announce on the show. So it means we can kind of focus on the show and kind of be a program a little bit more regularly than we have over the last 3 months. After the election, I was just so emotionally and physically exhausted. I couldn't bear to do anything. So that's why we're so sporadic with shows. But yeah, no, we're going to be back for 10 weeks straight, and we're going to roll through all the way through to Christmas. And and we are making the move to putting all of our previous episodes behind a paywall. Because we'll have a sponsor, we'll have an ad-free version. There's a lot of kind of minutiae of podcast minutiae I'll have to deal with. You guys know, making a podcast is actually really complicated. So
time-consuming.
We've got to figure out the funnels and how to get people to the free version, how to get people to the paid version, and what we can offer people for the extra pay version as well. So we're kind of working out this Irrational Fear premium system where people can subscribe through Apple Podcasts, but also through Patreon as well. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, hopefully, if we can triple our Patreon, then I don't have to get a real job like I've been trying to manage working real jobs at the same time. So it's good not to have a real job. I'd like to just focus on Irrational Fear all the time.
Well, we can both confirm it is definitely a better idea not to have a real job. So
I say thank you to the new Blurt, who are Patreon members of Irrational Fear. Thank you.
Yes, we are.
Oh, good. Yes. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so
One
much.
of the many, and we'll help you triple that effort.
No, it's great.
Absolutely.
I think I gave you a shout out at the end of the
live show.
The live show, yeah.
Yeah, we did hear that.
The Australian Secrecy.
Absolutely appreciate that. Look, appreciated that as much as we've appreciated having you on tonight, Dan. Absolutely fantastic. If you could maybe just do us a little favor, maybe if you can find Skerrick of Time, might be able to create an audio with an Alan Jones voice and wish us 100th episode or something.
Do you want it right now? Do you want it now? Here we go.
If you can do it live, why not?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. There are very few broadcasters I can hold myself up to that are equal, if not more exemplary than myself. And I just want a big shout out to the new Blurt. The new Blurt. Oh, they are fantastic, such wonderful voices. Never before would you as an audience be so enthralled, and not only enthralled, but also informed with the news of the day, thanks to the new Blurt. Oh, Blurt sounds like my latest diagnosis. Oh, God. Oh, God. Here at Australian Digital Holdings, ADH, don't ask me what it stands for, we love the new Blurt.
Beautiful. Fantastic.
I can laugh now. Thank you.
I was laughing live. That was amazing. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Anyway,
awesome. Thanks, Alan Jones.
Really appreciate it.
It's actually quite difficult to do Alan Jones' voice. It hurts my voice every time I do it.
Oh, wow.
It must hurt your soul a little as well, I imagine.
Oh, God. Nothing hurts my soul more than getting a bunch of money from paid sponsorship. Cash for comment. I love it. Oh, speaking of cash, have you tried the new Cash app? Send and receive money from anyone instantly with the Cash app. Oh, God. Say you want to get $10,000 from Valvoline just for mentioning the word Valvoline. Just give them your Cash app username and they can send it to you immediately. No questions asked. Download the Cash app today. Valvoline.
Fantastic. We're never having Alan on the show ever again, Wincy. It's not happening.
No.
Let me talk to you about Lebanese people. We don't.
No, we'll have to drop you now. No. Anyway, we absolutely appreciate your time. And we'll look forward to Irrational Fear and Goombug, particularly one of my favorites.
Yes, the greatest model podcast of our generation. And hopefully there'll be
Absolutely.
more. Jan Friend has issues, and Julia
that'd be good.
Zamiro has one more
Yeah.
contract actually for Julia.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that content is fantastic, and we promote it on this show definitely. So,
thanks so much,
again-
guys. Congratulations!
Thanks,
I'll see you
Dan.
guys here for your 150th episode. I assume.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah. 1 year's time.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
See you later.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Take care.
That was pretty awesome.
Still laughing. I'm still tearing.
Yeah. Oh,
from
look,
laughter.
absolutely.
I
That
don't
was
need to.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Just need a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, this is Hannah Melville Ray from the Australia Institute. I'm listening to the new Blurt with Wency and the Kegster, and you should be too. It's on Tuesday nights, live from around 8 p.m.
Dan made me laugh so much, he keeps fogging up my glasses. I can't see.
I'd forgotten
That
that he
was
does
sensational.
Alan Jones pretty well.
Oh, it's sensational. I'm going to cut that up.
Yeah.
I'll cut his little bit up, and obviously I'll have that as a little thing on the web. Alan Jones wishes the new Blurt 100th birthday. Yeah, he does it. He just does it effortlessly. You know,
It does. Hurts him. So
yeah. Well, I'd say I reckon it's his soul. But
yeah,
but no,
I was trying not to
that's-
laugh during that because I didn't want to spoil the audio. So then, because I knew you were going to cut it later.
Yeah. No, well, I couldn't help myself. I was killing myself.
Yeah.
I just was crying over here. I couldn't do much about it. Oh, just something I forgot.
Happy birthday, the new Blurt, on your 100 episodes, and may you have another 100 excellent episodes to come. And I look forward to the relaunch of the podcast as the new Blurt, perhaps in 500 episodes' time, and perhaps the new Blurt sometime in the next decade. Anyway, once again, happy birthday. Bye.
Thanks, Dr. Maria.
Who didn't know that she was a stand-up? Seriously.
Yeah. Well, if you've watched the show or listened to us, you would know that she's quite hilarious.
Oh, she is hilarious.
Yes.
Super smart, but absolutely hilarious. So, she was fantastic on Mark Kenny's. Oh yeah, she was fantastic. I might lose you for 2 seconds, just so you know.
Oh, okay. As long as it's only 2 seconds, not more.
Yeah. No. Look, I know this is a little bit unprofessional, but I'm
on our 100th show. Come on.
I know. I'm losing. I might lose my connection. So I'll keep it where I am. No, I won't do that. Okay. No, that's fine. Okay. Nope, that's fine. I will edit all that out. Anyone listening on the pod. So, Wency, anything you want to say before we go into our next and final segment for the evening?
No, let's crack on.
All right, let's crack on. No problems. And again, we thank Dan Ilic for joining us. Absolutely brilliant. When you listen to the pod, I'm sure you'll have a laugh and have a cry and learn something at the same time. And everyone who's following us live at the moment, I hope you're enjoying the show. And now it's time for... You're listening to The New Blurt with Wency and the Kegstar. Next up, do yourself a favour. Now, you've got a few things lined up, my fine-feathered friend. So if you want to go first, go for your life.
No problem. I think you played the wrong sting there, by the way. You had me confused. Yes.
Do yourself a... Oh, it should... Oh, my bad. It should have been... What was I thinking? Oh my God!
Because I realised I heard the "Do Yourself a Favour," which is the segment we just did with Dan.
Correct.
So I instinctively clicked on that, and then I realised, hang on, that's not what we're doing.
Exactly right. We should be doing this.
Hey, get this crazy man off the streets.
That's better.
Notice, but lately I've been drifting aimlessly.
Oh my God. Will you stop changing channels and just tell me what's on the box? That's better.
Snap. Okay, I'll start this one off. We recently signed up to a trial version of Binge. It's Binge.
You know who owns Binge?
No.
You seriously don't know who owns
yes,
Binge?
I do. I just realised the connection.
Yes. When Dave, our friend, listens to the pod, he's not going to be happy.
He's going to tune out after.
He will.
Sorry, Dave. Anyway, we have signed up to Binge. And amazingly, they have quite a lot of good content.
They do.
Because it is from Fox Studio.
I wasn't even going to mention that name. The content is great. The platform is shit. Unless it's improved. Can you download it?
I haven't tried that. We've only been watching it on the TV, so
on the TV?
Not sure if you can download. Yeah, our smart TV. Yes, true. So I don't know. I haven't tried it on a device, phone or iPad. So I can't answer that. But TV interface is much better than its sister app, KO for sports, which I so dislike.
Not going to mention that one either.
No, I only have it because it's Formula One, and I love Formula One. It's the only place you can get it.
That is true. But we didn't talk about it in banter. But it looks like there may be a chance that they're looking at getting some more free sport, especially
yes.
And the I think it's called anti-siphoning policies. Yeah. We'll throw a link in the show notes to what we're talking about. But basically, it's all about getting free sport, free-to-air sport, rather than have to go to these streaming services of KO or some other Murdoch bloody enterprise service. So
exactly.
But anyway, I digress. Go for it. Sorry.
We do digress as always. So we've got Trial of Binge. A lot of good content there. One of the ones that our eldest son was really keen on watching because they had heard about it a few months ago is a show called Our Flag Means Death. It's basically, without giving too much away, it's a story about a pirate whose background was aristocrat. He was an aristocrat.
Gentleman pirate.
A gentleman. Yes, the gentleman pirate. So it's his story.
True story.
Yeah, apparently it's all based on true story. I haven't gone into the history side yet, other than knowing, like you said, it is based on truth, and this gentleman who became a pirate and obviously disillusioned with the money and that lifestyle and decided to have a crack at pirating, and obviously goes on big adventures. Stars Rhys Darby, Kiwi comedian.
As the gentleman pirate?
As the gentleman pirate. So it's about 10 episodes long.
I think it's more than that. I think it may be 12 or 13, maybe, because there's 2 seasons. So
that's 2 seasons already. Oh, right. So we haven't gone that far.
It's 2 seasons. I think they're coming out with a third. Yeah,
even better.
So Taika Waititi is Blackbeard.
Yes, and he's the producer, I believe.
Yes, I think him and Rhys.
Or director.
Yes. Well, I don't know if he's director. I'm not sure on this one. But he was the director of Thor Ragnarok, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yes. And some of the other
I didn't quite like. I think did I review that earlier this year?
Don't think so. I would have been asleep through it, so I'm not.
Yeah. It was a bit too much. If you like your Marvel movies, I think Taika Waititi has just taken it a bit too far. So, not a fan of his work in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But Jojo Rabbit was great.
Sensational.
Yeah, Our Flag Means Death. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, cracking. Brilliant.
Yeah, so definitely worth watching. So.
And we've got a little bit.
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, thanks for the reminder. Here we go.
Blackbeard, Captain Kidd, the Gentleman Pirate, Well, the first two are like very, very talented pirates.
But the last one is the scariest of them all. Instead of killing with weapons, he kills with kindness.
Oh, right, so you're the gentleman pirate then?
Well sussed.
The rumor is you upended your entire comfortable life to become a pirate.
I got bad news for you, genital pirate. Pirating is not for everyone. It's a really dangerous lifestyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Blackbeard. Huge fan, sir. Huge. We're gonna go on up there and we're gonna cause some havoc.
How violent do we expect this to get? Note the gusto! Aren't you taking notes?
Vito.
I'm just looting this library, but I'm replacing all the books I've looted with ones I've already read.
You know how hard it is to find someone doing something original out here?
Do these outfits maybe feel like an error in judgment? Or...
It's a power move. Make people feel underdressed, and suddenly you're the one in charge.
You're a lunatic and I like
On the pod, he was in a white suit trying to see.
We're swashbuckling. We're looting. Let's have fun with it. Come on. Give a man a warning.
That was your warning.
A lot of the guys are sweethearts deep down.
Oh, that's perfect.
They're just dealing with a fair amount of trauma.
Permission to blow them to hell, Captain.
And we're quite certain they're pirates?
Hard to say. One appears to be a heavy-set woman in a silk dressing gown.
Everybody hide!
That's the gentleman pirate was referring to
A
there.
gentleman never arrives empty-handed. I made tapas. Tapas mean little plates.
Yeah, I know about tapas.
I like that. He's telling a guy who's Spanish what tapas is. That's fantastic.
It's a hilarious show. It
is. It's a cracker. When I see that, it makes me want to watch it again. What I love about that in particular is that, and I did really love it, is that they didn't put fake accents on anyone.
No,
it was like whatever that accent was. Yeah, they just did whatever it was. So you've got Blackbeard the Kiwi.
Yeah. The gentleman pirate's Kiwi. One of the other pirates that comes on board is American. You got other Englishmen on the episode. I think the female character, she's big Spanish.
Yes.
So you get a bit of everything. Yeah, like you said, they don't hide the accent. It's not about that. No. It's more about the story and the bumbling, how they bumble from one episode to another or scenario. It's quite funny.
Absolutely. But I think that adds to it. The fact that it's just this multiverse of different accents and they didn't try to... If it was totally Americanized, it would have been all sort of American accent. It would just be bland and sort of boring. But because they've kept what they've kept, it gives another texture to the comedy, in the show.
Absolutely.
So it's a cracker. That's good.
Yeah,
very good.
Go watch it.
Anything else?
No.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
That's it.
How many Blurt stars?
Oh, Blurt stars. 4.5 Blurt stars out of 5.
Yeah, I agree totally.
Definitely
I'd give that 4.5 as well. Yeah, I'd give that 4.5. Absolutely brilliant, sensational. Yeah, absolutely. Do yourself a favor.
You, my friend. Yeah,
exactly. What's on the box, but do yourself a favor anyway. Okay, so what I wanted to chat about is a new vehicle by Zane Rowe. And if you know who Zane Rowe is, she's been on Triple J forever. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think she went to London for a while as well, I think. And I could be wrong, but I need to get that confirmed. But anyway, she's in music and she's been in music for a really long time. And I also found out from watching Gardening Australia, I think it was, or Better Homes and Gardens, one or the other, she is a super keen gardener as well.
Is she? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's not just music, it's music and gardens. But the new vehicle that she's doing on the ABC, and if I can just faff about and find it for 2 seconds, I'm just trying to apologize. Where's it gone? I had it, and now I've lost it. I've got to find. Oh, here it is. I've got it. Okay. Yes, the new vehicle's called Zane Take 5 with Zane Rowe. Zanro. I apologize.
Zanro, yes.
Zanro. I must say Zane. I'm sorry. I apologize. I always get mad at people when they get my name wrong. Keeley or the Kegster.
Or as Google says, Keithley.
Yes, well, Google can get stuffed. But anyway, well, that's because there's a town in the north of England called Keighley. That's why. That's exactly why. And it's spelt exactly the same way. So, and no, I wasn't named after the town. I was named after a dude that happened to be named that my mum liked the name. So anyway, enough of that. Less of me, more of her. Absolutely. So Take 5 with Zanro. It's all about getting some pretty cool celebs on. They've had Tony Armstrong, Missy Higgins. Guy Pearce was the first one I watched. I also watched one with Keith Urban, which was awesome as well. And it's basically their top 5 songs that as sort of, they mean, so much into their lives and what those songs mean to them. And Zan's just got this beautiful sort of way of speaking to the guest and sort of being in rapport to the conversation they're having. So the Guy Pearce one was the first one I watched, and that made me cry, actually, because I really love Guy Pearce. And it was just his heart and how he was describing some of the music he was talking about. Anyway, I thought we might just I've got a little clip here, so we just have a look of a trailer for Zanro, Take 5 with Zanro. It's on the ABC. It's on demand. You can watch all of the ones I've talked about now. So yeah, well worth doing.
I'm actually nervous.
Good, means you care.
I do care.
I'm also nervous. What if you asked extraordinary people to share 5 songs?
Maybe I'll bring that back. My bad.
It's hard to put this into 5, right?
That made them
It's the perfect song to leave this song.
who they are today.
When her album came out, I couldn't stop listening to it because it's changed everything.
Oh, tune.
What a banger, right?
So good.
I listen to that every morning to try to transport myself away from the car trip.
Music was always my way out. I wasn't very comfortable in my skin.
I sort of related to that song on a whole other level once I looked at the lyrics.
It's incredible how one song can just attach itself to a moment in time.
I probably knew subconsciously I wasn't quite good enough. We'll cut this, right?
I'm going to change how people see not just a woman at a piano, but a force at a piano.
With any of us listening to music, it's about your own internal story that gets tapped into.
That's such a beautiful song. I'm so glad you chose that.
My ability to be able to make art on my own terms, that wasn't born of fearlessness. That was born of just having nothing to lose, which ended up being a real blessing.
I walked down the aisle to this song when we married. It really represents so much for me, that song. You didn't realise this was going to be a therapy session, did you?
That got heavy.
What? No, that's fine.
Go Oprah.
Join me, Zanro, as I take 5. You can learn a lot about something.
This is a spin-off from the Triple J show that she's been doing for a long time, I think. Many years.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's actually quite nice with the video because, you get the emotional sort of ranges from the musicians and celebrities that she has on there. And it's really cool. I really, really enjoyed it. And that one on Missy Higgins, I think, as I said, music can move you in so many different ways. And it's interesting because I remember years ago I listened to an album by Beth Orton. I think it's called Trailer Park. I think it's called Trailer Park. And I listened to that ad nauseum after I broke up with a girlfriend 30 years ago. And like, it was just like basically on repeat. I just listened to that the whole time, just being in this melancholic state, et cetera, et cetera. And then I tried to listen to it again the other day, and I nearly almost instantaneously removed it from my playlist. And not because it did anything to me, quite the opposite, because it did nothing for me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how, music can be at a time.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much music that takes you back. It's almost like smell and taste. Brings back memories, takes you back to a certain time in your life. Like they say, it's the first of something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's very powerful.
Absolutely. It is powerful, and I love the way that Zan approaches it and presents it. It's just got so much passion and emotion. As I say, I mean, she does, and you're right. She's been doing it for years on Triple J, but I just love it on the ABC. Just with video. It's really cool. I really enjoy that. So anyway, people. So really hope you go do that one. And for me, that's 4.5 Blurt stars as well.
Awesome.
It's only 5 songs. It only goes about half an hour, so it's easy to find half an hour.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Between everything else you're binging. So
yeah, exactly. On binge. Plugs. Plug away for binge.
No. I'm not plugging binge. No.
If I keep plugging binge, will binge give me a free subscription? binge. Hashtag binge.
Hey, Winter here. You've been listening to the new Blurt with myself.
That's true. That is very true.
Yes, that was me. Well, that was a good show. Really enjoyed that one.
Oh, absolute cracker. And again, we just thank Dan for joining us on our 100th episode. It's been a ride. Wednesday, we've done it all through the pandemic, and we've had some fantastic guests, and it's just been awesome. And I just want to keep going and just get better.
Yeah, it's been a fun ride, and let's hope there's what was it, a 500 more in 10 decades or whatever it was. It's been 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, anyway, it's good night from me. So
it's good night from me.
Good night, and we will see you next week. What is next week? Next week's the 18th of October. Oh, I need to get in touch with Angela Wapierre. She's meant to be on the 25th of October.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Join us for that one as well. That'll be absolutely awesome as well.
It's 2 weeks' time, people.
So, absolutely. Good night, people.
Good night.
See you, Wednesday.
See ya. Thanks, Vicky.